Scotland and Italy, Six Nations round number 1, folks, this weekend. Second game of the Six Nations after France and Wales play out things on Friday. We start Saturday off with Scotland hosting Italy. Scotland will be looking to right the wrongs of last year. They lost away in Rome, which was a famous victory for the Italians, but essentially ended any Scottish hopes of a successful Six Nations campaign in terms of challenging for a title. They'll be looking to get their campaign underway with a solid performance for the Italians. They'll be looking to try and match last year's performance levels, and they've picked a very competitive side. We'll go through the squads, the predictions, recent history, stats, and whatnot. You guys can let us know your thoughts on how this one is going to go. I'm just going to say this is a horrendous kickoff time for those of us in New Zealand. This is the afternoon kickoff, 2:15 at Murrayfield. Got my times right this time. I got yesterday's time wrong. But yeah, 3:15 in the morning for those of us in New Zealand. So either a very early wake up or a very late night. For the Scottish squad, the biggest talking point, which is unusual, they usually focus on the backs, but Dave Cherry's selection at hooker has dominated the conversation in terms of the questions that Gregor Townsend was getting asked. Ewan Ashman is on the bench, and Dave Cherry starts in the number 2 jersey for Scotland. It's a bit surprising because it seemed like with some off-the-field stuff that he might have fallen out of favour with the Scots entirely, but he's back in. And Gregor Townsend talked up kind of set piece needing to be accurate, the scrum and whatnot. So Dave Cherry to start for hooker for Scotland. Good luck to him this weekend. The pick of Schoeman and Fagerson alongside him. There's no real surprises there. They will be looking to turn the screws at scrum time. But the Italian props, they've got one debutant on the bench, but their starting props and their reserve tight head certainly pretty experienced campaigners, so it won't be an easy one. Jonny Gray's return to the second row is also a welcome one for Scotland. I'm not sure you get the best value out of Scotland from Jonny Gray's return for this game. I mainly say that because Jonny Gray, his kind of key selling point is his unbelievable defensive work rate, where he tops 20 tackles with regularity. The Italians probably aren't going to have that much ball, so you maybe don't get the best value out of Jonny Gray, but we haven't seen him in Scottish colours for a very, very long time, so he is certainly a welcome return to the Scottish lineup, and then he's alongside Grant Gilchrist. The back row is pretty steady with Jamie Ritchie, Rory Darge, and Matt Fagerson. There's also a lot of tackling in those guys, like Darge and Ritchie in particular, are very kind of high work rate tacklers. Matt Fagerson can do the same thing as well. He's a real all-rounder at number 8, but as I said, with the amount of balls Scotland should have, if history is anything to go by, we'll be looking to see the impact these guys can have at ruck time and on the ball carry rather than necessarily just their defensive shift, but they'll need to be defensively solid as well. Ben White and Finn Russell, there's no real surprises there at 9 and 10. That's the expected combo. Finn Russell is co-captain alongside Rory Darge. That's a role both of those guys have had to, well, they've done it before, but they've had to take on this responsibility with the injury to Tuipulotu, who is out for the Six Nations, and that injury sees Stafford McDowall come in at 12. Now, of all the spots you want to get injured, obviously you don't want your captain to be out, but you do feel like midfield is one of the areas where Scotland have got the depth to really soak that up without being a huge kind of drop in performance levels. I'd argue that if Zander Fagerson got injured, you'd probably be losing more overall than losing Tuipulotu, even though, as I said, he is the captain, and his ability to kind of bend the line and put someone else into space is phenomenal, but McDowall's a good player, so good guy to have in at 12 alongside Hugh Jones, and Gregor Townsend also talked up the cohesion levels between those two guys having played together so much before. One of my favourite winging duos, the big guy, little guy, Duhan and Darcy on the wings. If they can get the ball wide, can always cause havoc. And then Blair Kinghorn, certainly one of the best at fullback as well. Been playing some phenomenal rugby over in France. So, yeah, be careful if you kick that guy the ball. Ashman, Sutherland and Hurd, the 3 front row replacements. Gregor Brown and Jack Dempsey, the 2 other forward replacements. And then 3 backs with George Horne, Tom Jordan and Kyle Rowe. That's a really exciting 3 back replacements. Tom Jordan, Kyle Rowe, George Horne. They could really, really punish some tired legs if given a chance to do so. But we cannot write off the Italians. A lot of the talk is going to be about Scotland. Is this their year? They'll be looking at some of the future fixtures. Can they beat Ireland this year? But Italy are certainly going to be in the contest, even if they are big-time underdogs for this one. They were underdogs last year as well. Fischetti, Nicotera and Ferrari, that is the front row. So compared to the end of last year in November, Nicotera and Ferrari are getting starts. and Fischetti will likely go pretty deep into the minutes at loose head because Spagnolo, who was their other loose head in 2024, he is suspended for this game. So they've got Rizzoli, who is a debutant, on the bench. Likely they will try to reduce or kind of control the amount of minutes that guy has to play in his first game. Fischetti, you would think, goes at least an hour into this one, as long as he's able to do so. Lamb and Rutzer, that is their lock-in duo, and that is continuation on from the lock-in duo that we saw in November. Rutzer is a proper skills guy, so expect him to be catching the vast majority of the Italian line-out ball. Sebastian N, Michele Lamaro, and Lorenzo Canone. That is the back three. Lamaro missed out at the end of last year. He's back, and he captains the side at number 7. He's probably going to fill that role that Johnny Gray usually has for the Scots in terms of the tackle count. So Michele Lamaro certainly leads by example in terms of putting his body on the line. And Canone is also back fit. He'll be looking to get some go forward against the likes of that hard tackling Scottish back row as well. So whether they can get front foot ball will be one of the interesting kind of tales of this game. Page-Relo gets the nod at 9. Remember, the number 9 jersey has been a bit of a revolving door for the Italians, but he gets the game this week. He's got a decent boot on him. And then you got an interesting one at 10 and 15 because they've essentially picked 2 10s. They've got Paolo Garbisi at 10. And then they've got Tommy Allen at 15. Tommy Allen took a bit of time off during last year's Six Nations as well, but it's a nice one to have, the double playmakers thing. He covers extra positions because they've only got 2 backs on the bench, and you've also got a left-footed kicker in Garbisi and a right-footed kicker in Allen. So expect to see some kind of out-of-the-box stuff, I would imagine, from the Italians, depending on what field position, what side of the field they're on. You may see different guys in different roles. Midfield of Menoncello and Brex has been very stable, I would say, based on all the depth chart stuff we did last year. The most stable midfield combo in Tier 1 rugby. Then Capozzo is shifting to the right wing to accommodate Allen's inclusion at fullback. And Montijuani continues on the left wing. We know his kind of X-Factor play as well. So, man, between Capozzo, Ioane, Kinghorn, bloody Duhan and Darcy, you've got some really, really fun players to watch in this game. So it should be a pretty exciting one. The bench is Lucchese, Rizzoli, as I mentioned, and Ritchie. So Rizzoli kind of sticks out as your odd man out there because the other guys are all pretty experienced. Canone, that's Nicolo, is the lock replacement. They got 2 loose forward replacements in Zuliani and Vincent. You're going to have to watch out for Zuliani at the breakdown. He's a massive threat. And then Ross Vincent is proper quick for a loose forward. If you watch his highlight reel tries, he is pretty scary. And then Alessandro Garbisi and Simone JC are the 2 back replacements. JC will only be getting his 2nd cap for Italy, so big congratulations to him for making his way back into the side. As I mentioned, just the 2 backs, a little bit vulnerable, but they have got a bunch of guys who can cover multiple positions in that Italian backline. Some stats for you. The Scots tend to have, under Gregor Townsend, some very, very attractive attacking numbers. You want defenders beaten, you want clean breaks, you want offloads. The Scottish are going to bring you that game. You just look at the team names and you know what kind of game you're going to get. One area they would like to improve from last year, which was a wee bit dodgy, was their line-out. Their line-out numbers were pretty low, kind of low 80s in terms of their completion rate, so that number needs to be a lot higher. Although that being said, last year against Italy in the Six Nations, they were at 100%. Still lost that game. The Italians, with their lightweight pack, which tends to be the lightest of all the Tier 1 nations, tend to have less possession. Like I mentioned, they have to kind of sometimes hit teams on the break. But as Gonzalo Quesada took over Italy last year, their attacking numbers slowly but steadily improved. They don't actually need that much ball to still get good return from the ball that they have. So they're making good use of it, which is a pleasing one, which means they can be a genuine threat. Recent history between the sides, for a long, long time, up until last year, it was all Scotland. I think it was like a 13-match losing run for the Italians that was broken in Rome last year. If we're looking closer just to the last 5, it is now 4-1 with that 31-29 win for the Italians last year. But there's some decently big results in the last 5. There's a 52-10 back in 2021, but there's also some reasonably close games, like not one-score games, but there's 33-22, 26-14, 25-13, so maybe a bit closer than the Scots would like, especially if they're going to push for a Six Nations, like, I don't want to say championship, but at least being in the thing at the last week, they'll want to really put the Italians to the sword here. And they are big-time favourites to do it. Like, the average score across the last 5 is 33-18, which is pretty emphatic. The bookies are saying the Scots are going to do it by 18. So really comfortably. The rugby forecast algorithm is a little bit more conservative, but it says by 15. So kind of 2 or more converted tries. The Scots are predicted to get this win done. It is on at Edinburgh. Murrayfield. Should be a good and vocal crowd there out for this one. As I said, it's an afternoon kickoff. Englishman Carl Dixon is the referee for this one. You guys let us know your thoughts. Do you think the Scotland side are going to kind of meet those expectations despite the injury disruptions and put the Italians to the sword? Is it going to be their year, or do you think the Italians with this relatively stable side, despite a debutant kind of reserve loose head prop, if they can kind of shelter his minutes, do you think they can be just enough of a threat to make the game interesting? It's rank 6 against rank 10 in the world, so there's not that much between them. You guys let us know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Together.